Hello friends, today I want to talk about a very important and frequently overlooked topic of knife handles and their importance. Obviously, when we talk about the ergonomics of a knife handle, it largely depends on the intended purpose and use of the knife, what it's for. So right from the get-go, I want to clarify that this discussion is about kept knives, bushcraft knives, hard use, fixed blades. We're not talking about skinners or tactical knives. Much of the camp and bushcraft knives do kind of overlap with some tactical use or the possibility of tactical use, but I largely collect and use knives that are intended for woodwork, camping, outdoors. So my issue is that I'll frequently pay $200-300 for a knife that is intended for the above mentioned scenarios, and then I have to mess about and spend a lot of time redoing the handle. It's just disappointing because the companies that you see here, much of them are above $200 and even $300 in cost. They have unlimited resources for research and development, testing, prototyping, etc., but they still tend to get things wrong. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. Maybe it's just the fact that they emphasize on design and visuals and looks more often than the functionality. But even if we take that consideration, I still don't understand. Like the handles they come out with frequently are just not that appealing, not that good looking. Again, I don't know. I will just run through, give you some examples of what I'm talking about and why I change these things and what I do for the knives, for the handles to become usable. Some of the examples, right? This is a real steel knife that I only added these two liners, red and yellow. Did a dual color on this, and I just beefed up the handle. I do this on knives that are not, I do this just adding liners onto them is just to thicken the handle, and that increases the grip. But these are not hard use knives that I do this to, like Tucson. Pretty much my favorite compact fixed blade. I do have detailed reviews on both of these and most of the knives on the table. So here as well, I just added 1mm liners, and what that allowed me to do was this was more streamlined and flat on the side, and as you can see, I have kind of given it a palm swell because I had that added thickness due to the liners. And now this is a surprisingly comfortable but 3-finger, but still very, very sturdy hold in my hand, and I can do hard use on this knife. When I do change the thickness or the shape of the handle, I frequently also need to do my own sheath. So I've made a sheath for this out of Kydex. The reel still came with an exceptionally good leather sheath, and leather can stretch, and because I only added 2mm to this, all it did was just increase the retention. So not much changed for this particular knife. Let's move on to the hard use bushcraft type of knives. This is a cold steel Warcraft Tanto in 3V. It's been discontinued. They don't make this anymore. The blade is very good, useful as far as Tantos go. So it was a big new thing when they came out with this, probably about 10 years ago or maybe even more. And they had a video doing a hard test on the knife where they fixed the blade section and hung a Volvo with a large steel chain, a Volvo 740, a sedan, 4-door sedan. And the steel held up, the tank held up, but the scales came off because one of the screws got broke. Long story short, they were marketing and saying that they tested this knife in the Amazon jungle for 3 months, the prototype, prior to mass production. And what they had on this knife that they claim they tested for 3 months in the Amazon jungle was these scales. Now, people that understand the ergonomics of a jungle, woods, camp, bushcraft type of knife know that this handle absolutely sucks and it is not suitable for that type of use. First of all, it is very thin, does not have a palm swell, does not have your Hogue shape, etc. And there's just too many potential hotspots, too many sharp, not corners because they are decently rounded off, but you see like here they have flats on the spine, also flat, but as again, I do need to say that they have rounded off. There's no sharp edges anywhere. But the thing is, has a very narrow index finger section and does not have a swell for chopping. And I'll show you what I mean on my handles when I mean swell for chopping. But this is the handle that came with this $270 it cost, if I'm not mistaken. What I've done here is actually, this is a stacked handle, many sections. And what I use for my knives is not Western Industries epoxy. I think that's what the brand name is. So anyway, I don't use those epoxies. What I use is 3M DP420, and then I've started using Infinity Bond 420 again. And those are much harder epoxies. I'll show you. EP, yeah. So Infinity Bond, EP420, BLK means black. Way more expensive, but at the same time, shear strength, impact strength, etc. is out of the charts. It's pretty much the strongest stuff that you can find. So anyway, this is a stacked handle, has a bottle shape, nice palm swell. It does have the pommel flaring out so that you don't slide up onto the blade. And at the same time, it has a butt that also has a swell, meaning it will not slide out. I do sometimes put a lanyard hold on my knives, but I don't use lanyards in general because I shape the handles so that first of all they do not fatigue your hand, and secondly they have such good retention that the knife doesn't really need a lanyard. Of course, you need to know what you're doing and you need to know how to handle a knife properly. But why I put a lanyard hold in here is because this is a steel tube, and that steel tube just adds on to the hold of the segmented sections. So there's no way that handle can break and slide off. This thing holds all of the above sections tight, plus, as I said, I use especially strong epoxies. This is a very hard use knife that, yes, you can take in the jungle or in the woods or wherever you want and use it reliably, and you can put a lot of force onto it. No screws will come undone, etc. Again, as I said, when I change the handle so significantly, I also do need to do my own sheath. And I will most likely do another video on sheaths and my philosophy of what a good sheath should be like. So stay tuned for that. I always put a large drain hole. Anyway, I'll do sheaths separately. So very good retention. A lock. So I already showed you that cold steel, with all their unlimited resources, suck at designing handles quite often. Not always. They do have some decent handles, but sometimes they make a fluke. Okay, so Bark River is renowned for their ergonomics, right? And people praise Bark River. I have to say that applies to the Bravo line. Their Bravos and Gunnies do have really, really good handles that you really don't need to modify. This is an STS-7 model. Again, this is a discontinued knife, 154 cm, CPM 154 cm stainless steel. Beautiful chopper, large camp knife, very thick. And this came with a very bad handle. I bought it secondhand off of eBay, and the previous owner had already tried breaking the hard edges down, so he sanded them off. I think he messed up the screw holes as well. I don't know why. By the way, Nut and Fancy has a review on this knife and the issues that it had very sharp corners here, and you should be able to see that the previous owner tried to send them off. Came with a horrible sheath. Not Fancy does say that it does have a decent sheath. The sheath sucked. Now it has a good sheath, but the original sheath on this sucked. And when I do a separate video on sheaths, I will bring in that sheath and compare to what I made. Anyway, this did have a slight palm swell, but the scales are so thin. Expensive knife. Micarta scales, if they went up just a bit, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters on each side, they would have been able to do a nice contour, but they didn't. And the knife ended up with a very thin handle originally. Look at it now, huge handle. This is my handle. It has a very nice retention in the back and a Coke bottle shape, as you can see. I can swing this knife for hours without fatigue. I can chop with it because of this section right here, and I can choke up and still have very good lateral as well as up and down leverage. It has a large flat area, so the inside of the palm does not get, marks and hot spots. And currently, this is one of the best handles in terms of comfort for a large knife. Actually, what confuses some makers is they think if it's a smaller knife, then I should make a smaller handle, and that's a mistake. It depends on what you use the knife for. If it is a hard use, slicing, cutting knife, you retain the handle. And if you look at the Bravo line, you'll see that the blades get larger and larger, but the handle ergonomics, the palm swells, neck, and the bottom sections, they remain relatively the same. And that's good. I did show you the original scales. Like, look at the difference. This is the original scales. This is what I had to put on it to look at the size difference, right? Huge size difference. Also, I did away with the screws, used the bonkers epoxy, and I put, this is G10 pins, glued them in. So this is now permanent. Beautiful, beautiful handle. Here is the new sheath that I made for it. Now this is one of my favorite knives to use. Hogue EXF01. I have a detailed review on this knife as well. I first reviewed it in the original design. I changed the scales on it. And the sheath as well. So this is the original shape of the scales. It was marketed as like a survival camp knife, but also tactical use maybe. The guy, Elishewitz, is the designer. Very good designer, but I believe he has military background. So his handles are more, I guess, tactical. Now, there is a very strong argument that this handle has better retention than the original one. So he could have done, see, what I mean is I do not like on hard use knives this poking out. I'm okay with the index finger section being rounded in, the choiled, but then this, I mean, look at the shape of it. It is pointy, right? And yes, ergonomically, fingers sit in between, but this for me is not an optimal hard use knife. So long story short, this is what I've done with it. I committed to the choil, the finger choil here, and it has very, very strong retention. If you want to step something with it, you can easily do that. It also, as you can see, what I've done is, this barely had any contours, you can see. Now, this is what I've done to it, and you can see how much contours I've added. It doesn't have as strong of a Coke bottle shape on the top section, but I'll also explain that. But it has very nice contours towards the pommel, towards the butt. And what that does is you can, as I showed you in the Bark River knife as well, when you're chopping, this needs to be free and loose, these 3 fingers. These 2 fingers hold the knife securely. Not the third one, just those 2. And you chop. This just loose and, kind of directs your motion. But you got these 2 fingers holding, and you can chop away for hours, and I've done it. Also rounded off sides. This is also epoxied, but what I've done in this case is I kept the screws. This is not pinned, so I epoxied it, tightened it with the screws, and then I put epoxy on top of the screws. So this has 3 screws tightened and then filled with epoxy. This handle is not coming off. I absolutely adore the blade shape. There's a lot going on here, and I have to say this is one of my absolute favorite blades. Also, it is in A2 tool steel. Bark River also uses A2. I did not know. It's not an expensive steel. It's not known for its properties to be something exceptional, but I've had this knife for, again, over 10 years, definitely. I have not resharpened it. You can see how much hard use the knife has. I've batoned, I've chopped, I've done crazy things with the knife. I have not chopped any nails with it, but only used it on wood. And I've stropped it quite a few times. I do have a nice large leather strop that I made myself. I just purchased a 4mm nice genuine leather, stuck it on this piece of wood, and I've got a red and green compound. And after pretty much every hard use, I just strop this knife, and it has amazed me in its edge retention. It is hardened closer to 60, which is what I like. I like 60 to 62 HRC on my knives. And I believe this is 60 to 61. And it has amazed me, and I've really come to appreciate A2 tool steel when it is done properly, heat treated properly. So after redoing the handle, again, one of my favorite, if not the most favorite knife in this size factor. I do prefer this to the previously shown Bark River because it's lighter, it's easier to carry. It does almost everything that Bark River can do, and the handle ergonomics are out of this world. Again, I've had to do a custom sheath for it, and this sheath is actually probably the best Kydex sheath that I have done so far. The retention and the ease of unsheathing, etc., has this nice carbon fiber look. Originally, if you see the review of this knife, I did a orange Kydex sheath for it, but then I changed some things on the handle and I didn't like that Kydex sheath, so I made a new one for it. Beautiful, beautiful knife. I just wonder why Hogue cannot do something like this when they've designed a beautiful blade and put an absolutely shitty handle on it. Then I have to spend so much time and materials to make it a usable knife. Another one by Bark River. This is Ambush Alpha. I believe it is discontinued, the brand shut down. So Ambush Alpha was a brand by DLT Trading, and they designed this knife, and Park River made the knife for them. I didn't have to do much on the knife. It does have a decent palm swell, as you can see. The shape is beautiful, but surprising from Bark River again, it had very sharp corners, so I had to sand it down. Now it has a very nice usable, it's in 3V by the way, and it was a high saber with a V-edge. I did a nail test with it. It did well. It cut the nail, but after I had to buff out the edge because it did deform the edge. I decided to do a convex, so it is now saber vex. Has a very nice convex edge on it. Scary sharp, beautiful to use. I did not have to redo the sheath for this particular knife, again because I did not change much in terms of the handle ergonomics. So this is the original sheath. This knife is a Puron Varsi. It is a Swedish knife maker. It's hand-forged steel, differentially heat-treated, and had a high candy grind. Again, I put a convex edge onto the cutting edge, so now I guess it can be called a Sabervex or Scandivex, I guess. So it had a red tail like most of the Pucos do, and from the ground up I did a stacked handle on it, a brass pommel or brass layer, which I patinaed on purpose, and also has a brass pommel with 2 pins epoxied inside of the handle. And then here a bunch of G10. The liners are also G10, the red and the green, and these dark sections are actually leather. They're leather from my Core Essentials belt where I snipped off the extra length. I never throw away that kind of stuff. It was good buffalo leather, genuine, full grain. And so it has those, and then, I mean, this knife handle is a bit crazy. It has transparent epoxy over that section, and inside that transparent epoxy I've done these shavings. I spent a lot of time on this handle. Now, if you look again, the shapes continue. You need a nice palm swell, good to have choil section for your index finger. And again, the pommel, as you can see, is also contoured. That way I can hold it comfortably and do a lot of hard use with this blade due to the handle shape. Of course, I had to make my own Kydex sheath, matching colors with the red. This actually is one of the first knives that I played with in terms of making the handle. Made this handle about 10 years ago again, roughly 10, 12, I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but if I was to make it now, I would put liners in here. I don't have liners, it's just straight up Carta on this C-Tech. But again, look at the shapes. Thick, good palm swell, and on the pommel flare outs, so that again I can do slice cuts, push cuts, very, very comfortable hold in the handle. This is 52-100 ball bearing steel. Again, my own Kydex sheath, one of the first that I made. These are Maratak knives. By the way, quick wrist check. I am wearing the Maratak Altomer titanium GMT 500 meter water resistant watch. This FKM rubber strap I put on it. It comes with female end links and a very nice titanium bracelet. But because I wear this 24/7, I wear it in bed as well, I put this rubber band on and I absolutely love it. It wears like a G-Shock. You can use my discount code on countycom.com and you'll get 10% off on your entire order of course, applies to the watch as well. You're a watch lover, tool watches, right? Mechanical tool watches. I strongly recommend that you check out this watch. I love County Comb because they make a lot of good, high quality stuff with very affordable prices. I collaborate with them, and I requested these two knives to review. So this is ready for action, regular, and this is ready for action compact. This one is glow scales. They make a lot of products with, this is a skull, very nice skull that also glows in the dark. These scales glow in the dark. And I had to do quite a bit of modifications, especially to the larger one. And again, I will try to post a photo of this handle shape, the original one here on the left corner. Let me first talk about the smaller one. This is a surprisingly good for large size hands, maybe not XL, but for large size, it just, as you can see, perfectly shaped. But it was a bit on the thin side. Now I understand why, because this is designed as an EDC, very pocket-friendly knife. So they went on a thin side, but I like good handle scales that feel my hand grip well. And again, as I mentioned, sometimes I will just add liners. This is paper micarta and 1 millimeter each, green, because this also glows green. All I did to this knife was edit these two liners, did a little bit of rounding. By the way, now both knives, they come with more thicker scales and more ergonomic, or the original thin scales as well. Once I received this and I talked to them, they said, yeah, we've noticed that some of the feedback is requesting more ergonomic handles. Shortly after sending me the knives, they came out with very ergonomic, much better than the originals. This one had actually a good sheath, so it was like a sandwich style sheath, and I didn't have to do much tinkering with it. I basically reheated because I thickened the handles and shaped it to very good retention. Flies off, as you can see, very nicely. And then for scout carry, horizontal carry, what I did was just use these holes, put a paracord in, melted off these sides. So this now is a good horizontal carry sheath. But then I changed, I'll explain why. Because this came with fold-over taco style sheath. This came, I don't know why, with this type of sheath. And they had the knockoff tech lock. Both had larger, the regular size tech locks on them, which for my liking are very bulky. I much prefer taco style sheaths. When I make a sheath, 99% they're taco style. And because it cuts down, you see how much narrower my sheath is compared to the original. And because this is a compact carry also, and bam, I made a sheath for it, and hard, this is Kydex scout carry or horizontal carry, and very comfortable, nice retention. And also I can take this off and put an Alti clip on it if I want to do a pocket carry, which I rarely do. I usually wear my knives on my belts. That's the changes that I've done. Just basically added liners. I could have kept the original sheath. It is a very nice, well done sheath, but I went with a taco, and I just didn't want to throw away the sheath for this, is why I repurposed it for the smaller version. It had different holes, different eyelets, but because this is a smaller one, when I pressed it off, this is where the original holes were. I cut all that off, made my own holes, eyelets, etc. And this is the final result. By the way, both of those knives are in D2 steel. I like D2. I love Magna Cut and M390, S35VN, LMAX, etc. But I also appreciate simpler steels. I do not like N95. Even more so, I dislike 1075 or 1065, etc. Those are just too soft. Anything below 60 Rockwell hardness, I do not really like because of the weak edge retention. And because you've got D2, you have A2 tool steel that can be hardened around 60 HRC or even higher. Those have good edge retention. A2 tool steel has a very good toughness as well. They're easy to sharpen, so I like them. Anyway, D2 tool steel on both of these knives, and this came with this very, very special carbon fiber. I haven't seen this. You see the texture on this? So they were very proud of this specific carbon fiber that they designed and made, and I wanted to retain texture, right? If I had changed and did from the ground up, this would have a palm swell. It does not currently, but it has a swell here. Had a very similar, basically identical shape to this, right? But I cut this down. So 1, 2, 3 pins. It had 3 screw holes. I used the third one as a lanyard hole. I don't have a lanyard because when I have a good handle, as I said, I don't use lanyards. This now is a very good handle. Why? Because I beefed up the thickness. This is 1.5, so 1.5 millimeter G10 liners. So totally 3 millimeters. I beefed up the scale, and then I rounded off the spine, the belly very well, and now it is very comfortable. You see this black, it is not steel. And this is the, earlier I showed you the epoxy that I use. This is all epoxy. Why? Is because I round down the handle straight like that, and you can see the tang. You see that black side more shiny? That is actually the tang. So it is a full tang, but I ground it down. Then I glued with this black epoxy the scales, filled up all these sides with that same epoxy, and this is very strong epoxy. Basically, you're getting like a almost a G10 strength out of this epoxy, very high shear strength as well. Then inside of this, these are not full pins, these are just caps, the red, that I placed inside because it had offset screw holes. So what I've done is it does have through pins, slightly smaller diameter, that are epoxied. So these scales are also held with 2 screw pins. And then just to add some flair and match the colors of the liners, I cut off, then sanded down these red caps, so to say, and epoxied them inside. This is a very, very strong handle construction. I don't fear anything disassembling or coming off here. Very comfortable, as I said. Now, obviously, I had to do another custom handle scale for this, and I had red carbon fiber textured, so the colors match very well. Beautiful knife. This leather loop is out of this leather, purchased it off Amazon. It is full grain, good quality, 4 millimeter. Now, this quickly became one of the favorites. Hard use, right? And it is D2, so if I damage the edge, I'll quickly resharpen it. By the way, I've received a very nice sharpener from Hubstone, fixed angle sharpener that it's an RS Ultra model, and it has an attachment for convex grinds. Very interesting. Soon I will be resharpening both of these knives to have a saber vex. So right now they have a full flat with a V-edge, both of them. And I will be putting a convex cutting edge on both, testing out the Hubstone RS Ultra sharpener. So stay tuned for that as well. My own handle. This is a Kisljar Supreme. It is in PGK steel. This was a new steel for me, sharpened very well to, as you can see, a mirror edge. and very good toughness as well as edge retention, very good steel. Anyway, I made this for my boy for his birthday, and if you can see, it repeats my beloved shapes, right? Coke bottle shape. Very nice palm swell. It has the choil here. It flares out on the bottom so that, as I was saying earlier, so that I can do my chopping motions with this 2-finger retention, loosen here, as well as choke up and do hard use. So this is very nice brown micarta. Pins are glow in the dark. They don't show now, but they are glow in the dark. I have a very long 1-hour video making this scale, actually, if any of you are interested. Some of my older videos, but very nice hard use. Again, prep. This is from Core Essentials Buffalo gun belt that I snipped off, and as I said, I do not throw anything away that could come in handy later, and it surely did. Very nice. A loop. It is a dangler loop. Examples of more quite expensive knives that I had to redo handles on. Look at the contouring now. This knife had a broomstick handle, and I just couldn't use the handle. I could not justify, and I don't understand why they designed that type of handle. I built this on my own. These are G10 pins and color matched with the liners. And because of these contours now, this is a very, very comfortable handle and no fatigue in prolonged use. Another one that I recently also made is this. Now the third one was a lanyard hole. I did away with it, pinned, and pinned, right? So we have 3 pins holding down, epoxied on this side, all full orange liners. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 liners that I've epoxied together, and that just increases comfort. You're not touching steel, but instead G10. There is on the back though the original spine. It is full tang, obviously, as you can see, and starting from here you're not touching steel, but contours, that's what's interesting. There we go, again, Coke bottle shape, flare out on the bottom. This is a large chopper slicer, beautiful knife blade, but the handle was just very disappointing, especially for this knife. Now, beautiful, hard use, comfortable handle. You're probably interested, do I do this to all of my knives? And no, I don't. And quite often makers are able to design and execute very, very good knife handles, plenty of them. So 3 of my recent favorites, and these are knives that I reviewed in the past year. Well, the Muta Somura I did about a month ago, but I did receive it in the past year. Nothing needs to be done to these handle scales. Why? Because they're designed and made very well from the get-go, from the original designer. This is an Olive Knives Arbor, and you will see they have the contours down, the thickness correct, shapes correct, and very comfortable. Absolutely no hot spots. You don't need to do anything with these knife scales. This is a very nice, interesting blade. One of my favorites. I'll do a separate review for these knives. This is a Zerko Knives cash blade. This is his first designed knife. It is made overseas, but by a very high quality, reputable OEM, and has M390 steel. Has this cache section here where you can put whatever you need, but he also sells a container you can put pills inside, or fire tinder, or you can put a kerosene lighter and it fits perfectly inside. And then you slide this up, lock it off, and this is a toolless cache stash section in the handle. If you look at the shape of the handle, try again, very nice contours. The knife requires absolutely no sanding or modification. Very comfortable handle that you can use for hours. Check them out. Zerko knives, cache blade. And last but not least, the Muthos Homura. This is Prominence MH01. I will soon be reviewing their upgraded and larger version, which is MH015. That's in the mail. I should be receiving it soon. Very unique blade shape, combi grind. So you have a saber, high saber grind here and a convex on the other side, but we're talking about scales. So if you look at the scales, it does not have Coke bottle shape, whatever. It is streamlined, has very slight but still functional kind of choils or flare out here, which I much appreciate. But if you look on the side, it does have the palm swell here. And this also, despite the kind of hammered look, but this is done with a CNC machine. This is a surprisingly comfortable handle, but you see the thickness of it, right? The handle for a hard use bushcraft knife needs to feel your hand, and this does it perfectly. So these are some examples where I don't need to do any modification, and it has been designed very well from the get-go. Now, some runner-ups, Real Steel, Bushcraft Plus second version. Again, a very nice handle, but some sharp corners here that I still need to sand down. But overall, a good hard-use handle. Same goes for their Bushcrafter model. This is in D2. The previous one was 14C28N. This is D2. Also, very nice Bushcraft handle. Has a palm swell, but I already sanded down the spine as well as the belly section on this. I say runner-up because I did have to do slight modifications. Now, let me show you absolute perfections in bushcraft knives. These knives, I mean, from the sheath to the blade to the scale, everything is just pure perfection. Absolutely no need to touch anything on this. Just take it out in the woods and use it, abuse it, do whatever you like. Beautiful. But you see again, thick, not thin. Thick handles. And another one by the same maker, same brand. This is their Bushcraft specific, it's called Bushcrafter. And you see again the handle shape. Thick, rounded. You don't have that poking out finger separation, and absolutely no need to do anything to this blade other than enjoy it out in the woods. Hopefully I've shown you enough variety of handle scales to illustrate what I'm talking about. Here's another one, Enzo in D2. Probably the best D2 that I've tested is from Enzo. Maybe Schleipner, I don't know, but I believe they do their own heat treat. Very, very nice blade. Not so much on the handle. This is thin, and on the butt section has all kinds of very sharp corners. So these guys make a lot of Puko designs. They know exactly how to do a good handle. Somehow messed up on here as well. By the way, a very good leather sheath for this as well. So it is not rare that a very well-known, reputable knife maker has a flop. It's a unfortunately a common thing. This is another Enzo that I purchased. It came separate so that you can glue your own, well, not your own scales because the scales came with it, but I added these red liners to beef it up. Now it does have a decent hold, but those of you that have this type of knives where the finger choil section is thinner and you have a wider butt section, I recommend that you turn them upside down, hold them like this, and see. It should prove to you that this hold is more comfortable than this hold. Why? It's just simple logic. This circle, because this finger is longer than your pinky finger, you need a swell and a thicker section up on your index finger and a thinner section down to your pinky finger. Just common logic. This is a very common knife that I think absolutely sucks. It is the SE Zula. And very similar issue here as well. If you hold it upside down, you should be able to see that or feel that this is a much better hold than this. And I don't know why they design it this way, but the handle on this absolutely sucks. 1095 steel, Rowan heat treat, blah, blah, blah. This sucks in edge retention as well. It's just like Play-Doh. Okay, guys, thank you for sticking with me for this long. Hopefully this was interesting and useful. Stay tuned. Please like, share, and for sure subscribe.